Good day to one and all. This is Dr. Sivaraman of iknowindices.com. So we're at a new week. So let us review the market, how exactly the forex market is going to behave in this particular week. Hope you are able to hear me. We will be tracking the market using the live market quote page. So it is Asian session live market analysis on December 21st between 5 and 5:30. We are going to review for the entire week. So I'll be giving the forecast as well as give the expected market moves for this particular week. You can make a note of it and use it as an input for your trading decisions. So we'll be doing the market analysis using the live market quote page. I'm giving the link for the same. You can open it in a browser and you can view the live market quote page similar to this. So currently euro is around 1.4347, the much awaited levels we are seeing, and many were thinking that euro may not be able to reach these levels or GBP may not be able to reach these levels, and finally we are seeing when the unwinding has happened with that of the players. So currently euro is showing a net change of 15 pips positive. 1.4347 is the bid and 1.4349 is the ask. The low is 1.4281 and it is slightly above that of Friday low of 40 to 55, and the high is 1.4357. You know very well on Friday during the early US session they made a quick drop and subsequently towards close of the US session they made the recovery in the case of euro and GBP. And GBP has formed a low 1.6114 which is higher than that of Friday low of 60.55, and currently it is trading around 1.6149, 1.6153. Net change is 9 pips negative. So you can see that they are making a small dip in the case of GBP and a small rise in the case of euro. Thereby euro GBP is showing a net change of 15 pips positive. So 88.82, 88.85 is the current bid and the ask, and 88.60 is the low, 88.87 is the high. You can understand that it is a very small spread in the case of euro GBP to start with. And they made a significant drop in the case of euro CHF. 1.4944 is the current level. They dropped it to that level of 1.4847 as a big downward stop, and subsequently the net change is only 3 pips positive and the high is 1.4953 and they are expected to go above that. So in order to rise euro CHF, they will be rising USD CHF. Currently USD CHF is showing 13 pips negative net change and current call is 1.0414 and the low is 1.0374, the high is 1.0431. And if you notice that CHF and Canadian dollar, they are handling it now. And Canadian dollar is 1.0662 is the current level, 1.0655 is the low, 1.0682 is the high. And they make this sort of moves USD CHF. Thereby, you find that initially CHF CAD will make a rise and subsequently they will make a rise in the case of USD CHF and hold Canadian dollar. Thereby, they will try to bring it closer to the parity in the case of CHF CAD pair, the cross, and then subsequently they will make the regular moves. So you will come across for the year end, there will be some massive moves in the case of the crosses. So you have to understand that they are only unwinding those crosses and subsequently they will make a downward stop. And in the case of euro CHF, for example, they made an extensive downward stop and that shows very clearly they want to reverse it. 1.4847 is the low and currently it is 100 pips above that of that low. So it is a clear extended downward stop during the start of the week and subsequently they are trying to hit all the stops and buy, and subsequently they want to make a small dip. At those dips we can make a buy. Then you will find a good recovery in the case of euro CHF. Then in the case of Australian dollar, 88.59 is the low, 88.71 is the current level, and 89.33 is the high. The net change is 27 pips negative. So this is again making a small dip before another recovery. So don't think that the market will be bearish continuously. They have to make an alternative bout of the bearishness and the bullishness in the market. Accordingly, you have to understand their intentions and trade without any bias or without any market sentiment. So in the case of USD yen, and many were thinking whether it will be able to reach that 90 area, and subsequently it has reached the 90 area. 90.18 is the low, 90.65 is the high. Net change is 18 pips negative, and USD yen is also expected to make a recovery move, and they will alternatively make the rises in the case of the denominator currencies. All the three denominator currencies, namely CHF, USD CHF, USD yen, and USD CAD, they may not rise simultaneously, but they will rise only two currencies at a time. The third one, they will try to hold it, and you have to identify with the help of the net change, and that is mainly to handle their respective crosses. They are handling mostly the numerator currencies with regard to their crosses, and now they will try to focus on the denominator currencies, especially the European currencies. And with regard to that of the yen crosses, you find a dip to that area of in the case of euro yen, 129.56 is the current level, 128.99 is the low, 129.80 is the high, and net change is 12 pips negative. So when they make a rise in the case of USD yen, and also in the case of euro and GBP, you will find, and also in the case of the denominator currencies, either CHF or the CAD, then you will find these crosses will also make the recovery moves. So without any bullish and the bearish feel, try to understand that they're done the drops on Thursday and Friday, and if you have noticed, because Friday I was not able to be available here, and Friday they made a net change of a very less importance. On a Friday, normally they make about 150 pips to 200 pips drop, whereas in the case of euro, on that day they made only a drop of about 80 to 90 pips and quickly recovered it. And similarly in the case of GBP, which you can understand that they have done the lower level consolidation with the downward stop band. So whenever they make a lower level consolidation with a downward stop band, that means they have started buying. So when they started buying, whenever they make a downward stop band, we can try to buy along with them. So where to buy? We can buy whenever they are coming closer to that of the low, or whenever they try to make a downward stop and below that of the low briefly. So that will be the indication, and you can watch the market and trade accordingly. So now they are trying to buy. After buying it, they are expected to make a recovery move in the case of euro and GBP, and also in the case of denominator currencies in this particular week. So let me explain to you the forecast for today. So with the help of the live market code page, we have seen how exactly the market is placed currently. Then I will display the forecast for today. Japanese session, initial firming up move and the swing moves are expected, and during the early European session, there will be a small dip. Probably they may come closer to that of the low and then make a rise move. So at that time, one can make a buy, and then they will make the recovery. Then during the US session, you will come across the swing and the rise, and towards the from mid US session onwards, you will find the significant rise in the case of the net changes. That could be positive net change in the case of euro and GBP, and USD CHF and USD yen are also expected to make their recovery move along with that. So since I am going to give only a weekly webinar, that means on Monday, so today I'll be giving the forecast for the entire week. They are all just indicative moves of the market, and I will give the updates based on the closing on a daily basis and the blog. So you can read in the blog and get the update of the daily expected market moves. Then on 21st, that is today, swing and firm up moves. Generally, the market will make a lower level swing with a sporadic downward stopper and make a firming up move. Then on 22nd, that is tomorrow, swing and slide moves are expected. So after gaining the levels, market is expected to make a drop again to the current level. And then on 23rd, that is midweek of December, swing and rise and quick moves are expected from that of the midweek. So the rise will be very, very significant on 23rd. That is what expected. Then on 24th, again, there will be another swing and rise move. Then on 25th, that is the Christmas day, there might be holidays in some countries. So obviously the market will be subdued and it will show the swings. Then next week, there will be quick drop for the last week of the year, 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. You will find very volatile moves in the market, up and down moves. And as I explained earlier, you will come across euro closing around 1.4650 area, GBP closing around 1.63 area, USD around 92 area, USD CHF is around 1.06 area, then USD CAD around 1.08 area, and Australian dollar closing around 0.90 area for the year end. So anyhow, next week I'll review that and give you the levels pertaining to that of the year end closing. So we will just see today's initial highs and the lows and try to use it for our trading plan. So in the case of euro, 1.4281 is the low, 1.4348 is a high, and they breached that was the initial high. They breached the high and formed a new high, 1.4357. So that indicates that they wanted to make a rise, and currently they are holding around that of the initial high. And when they make a drop, you try to make a buy. And in the case of GBP USD, 1.6114 is the low, which is intact. 1.6161 was the initial high, and currently it is 61.63. You can understand that they want to make a small rise here. And initially, to start with, they may rise euro more and make less rise in the case of GBP in order to rise euro GBP, and subsequently you will find GBP will gain more when euro is holding, thereby they will be able to drop further down euro GBP. So after the rise, you can take sell position in the case of euro GBP when they are handling the psychological level like 0.89 or 0.8950 and watch those levels, and then you try to take sell position without any hurry. Then in the case of USD yen, 90.18 is the low, which is intact. 90.65 is the high, which is also intact. And in the case of CHF, 1.0374 is the low and 1.0431 is the high. They are intact. So you can understand that there is a little bit of activity in the case of euro and GBP, and rest they are not breached the high or the low. So 0.8859 is the low in the case of Australian dollar. 0.8933 is the high in the case of high in Aussie. So you find that which is within this particular high and the low, which is set around 2:30 to 3:30 GMT of today. Then Canadian dollar, 1.0655 is the low, 1.0682 is the high, which is again intact. So now you can understand they are making the moves only in the case of euro GBP and making the range bound swing between the high and the low in the case of the other currencies. Thereby they are able to bring the swings in the case of the respective cross. So let me minimize the PowerPoint presentation and take up the questions which are asked here. I'll focus the camera over that of the line market code page so that you can see that, and I'll take up the questions and answer to those questions as much as possible. Splo has got a question. Do they make the moves earlier of the standard gap time, especially London session? No, they will try to follow the session timings, and there may not be any drastic variations with regard to the standard gap time. Between 7:30 and 8 GMT will be the gap time before the start of the European session. And so this week you expect recovery in Euro and GBP, and therefore USDN will move down. Don't try to conclude. That's what I explained, that they are expected to make contrarian move. Euro and GBP are expected to rise. During that time, they will swing and rise. USDN as well. You would have seen that how exactly they are recovered, USDN, USD CHF and USD CAD during the rise and the drops of Euro and GBP. So similar such contrarian moves and alternating with that of the USD weakening or USD strengthening moves will be seen in the market from time to time, that you have to monitor and use it for your trading decision. And Smith has got a question. Do you still expect USD yen will reach the level rest of the year? Yeah, USD yen, once it crosses this 92 area, you will come across the yen closing above that of 94 for the year end. What you mentioned at the webinar dealing with the year end target. Yes, I will try to review the targets as I explained, that as the time goes, because the target could vary depending upon the market moves and also depending upon the volume. So we cannot have a rigid levels and say that okay, this is achieved or not, because that is not our objective to find whether the forecast is true or not. Our objective is to fine tune our expectations. Okay, will USD yen do the 88 level again? I'm not expecting USD yen to come down drastically. Okay. What upside level do you expect Euro and GBP to reach before falling again the last week of the year? As I explained that Euro and GBP will be making the small rises and it can come up to that level of 1.64 or 1.44 or 1.45 area and subsequently revisit this level during early next week, that is 28th or 29th. Then subsequently you'll come across the recovery moves again, and a very quick rise is expected on 30th. Then 31st there will be volatile moves and they will set the highs and probably close near the middle level on the last day of this particular year, 31st. And again the first will be the Friday. On the day also you will come across in the holiday mood, they will try to establish the levels. Do you expect they may visit the low or cut the low in the case of GBP? Yeah, they can probably today come closer to that of the low during the early European session, and wherever they come, you watch up to 9 GMT and 9:30 GMT. If they are not going deeper, then you can start making a buy. Okay. What sort of levels do you expect Euro GBP, GBP USD, Euro USD and GBP USD by the end of the week? So I given that level that 1.45 to 1.46 could be seen in the case of Euro and GBP 1.63 to 1.64. Okay, K10. When is there going to be a mega rise in Euro and GBP? Probably 1.705. They are not going to happen immediately. The massive rise in the case of Euro and GBP are expected from the third week of January. But they will not reach all those levels by third week, and the significant rise is expected to start from third week of January. Then probably by February, March, we will come across those levels. I cannot get the same initial low and the initial high you have shown on your slide. 918, 965. Is it from 230 to GMT? Yeah, these are all the levels in the live market code page. What is that? 9065. 98. I don't know which currency you are referring to, Abel. Then When you say daily range for euro is 150, do you mean it is a range from top to bottom? No, it is a net change. Or is it up to 150 pips from 330? No, it is a net change. What you come across in the column in the live market quote page after the high, it shows net. That net change potency is 150 pips upward or 150 pips downward. That is a great potency of market. I have a long in euro at 1.45 rather. Do we get opportunity to close? Yes, you could be able to get the profit booking opportunity. And also Aussie at 0.90. Yeah, Aussie we should be able to close it around 90 if you wait. Probably do a little bit of averaging. If there is a good drop, then you will be able to close both the positions above their average if you are a position trader. Okay. Today, Euro Australian dollar moved more than all others. Does it indicate that they are handling crosses? Yes. Or is this a move just to natural outcome of handling the majors? No, it is specifically handling the crosses. In Raj, I have noted that the monthly, weekly, daily lows are the same in GBP. What is the significance of this in trading also? Net change for the year is almost zero. Okay, then you understand that they have taken the market upward as well as the downward, and towards the close of the year, they are handling around the same level. See, you have to understand one thing. So market has got certain ranges. So in these ranges, the market is bound to make up move or a down move. The range could be around 1100 to 1300 pips, and they will try to do that. And sometimes you will find that they will breach those ranges in specific months and subsequently reverse it. They cannot make one-sided rise or one-sided drop. And it is not like stock market wherein they can make a stock into a penny stock if the valuation is zero. And here it is not like that because they are all the currencies of the respective countries. No country will allow their currency to become zero. So you have to understand that they will be in a range, and that will be a wide range for the entire year. So there is no point in telling that I don't find any significance. That is how the market functions. No, around that specific intrinsic level, they make an upward move and a downward move and create surprises and earn money from that of the traders. So that is their objective. So they cannot take it to that of the extreme levels forever. What levels do you expect for USDN in this week? I said that it could rise around 92 area. About Euro CHF, can we expect a steady recovery above 150? Yes, it is possible. Okay. The initial low based on my GFT platform for SDN is 90.39, 90.48 initial high. See, the platforms, what they show it as an initial high and the initial low may differ because they take different timings. If they take US timings, and they will try to show accordingly. But if you track the market using the GMT time frame, they are the initial lows and the highs because the players follow the GMT times, and if you also follow the GMT time, then you will be able to understand their moves. And if you use your own local time, then you cannot expect the market to move according to your whims and fancy. Can you foresee 200, 300 pips drop in the case of Euro GBP this week? I'm not expecting it. What do you see the lowest for the week in the case of Euro? I think they have set the low. Okay, your platform might be showing the GMT time, but I'm not still able to understand. Probably if I do a comparative analysis, then I'll be able to do the explanation. Okay. What kind of moves do you expect from the stock market in the coming month? Okay, there is a separate question about stock market. So stock markets are expected to make a good recovery towards the end of the year, and subsequently during January they are expected to make new highs and then start dropping in the month of February. January, late January and early February, you will come across an unexpected drop in the case of stock market. Then here afterwards, you will not come across the similarities that when euro rises, stock market rises, GBP rises, stock market rises. Instead, you will say that when stock market rises, the currencies are going to drop. That sort of correlations we'll try to do it, or probably you will relate the stock market to that of USD yen. Can we see some corrections or just holding high and making new highs? So you will come across definitely swings, and they cannot just like that hold the market and make a rise. By that they don't make money. They have to make a downward stop and only then they can make a rise. Similarly an upward stop and only then they can make a drop. What are the rules to use in this LIFO trade technique? I explained it many times. I think we are a newcomer to this particular webinar. So initially we have to make a note of the lows and the highs set between 2:30 and 3:30 GMT, and also make a note of the net change and relate the market from time to time during different sessions of the day. I have given the session timings. So Japanese session is from 0030 to 0730 GMT. Then 7:30 to 8 GMT is the gap time. 8 to 14 GMT is the European session. And 14 to 14:30 is the gap time before the US session. The US session starts by 14:30 GMT and ends by 21:30 GMT. And there will be moves in the market, up and down moves, and you will be able to easily relate the moves and by comparing the then market condition with that of the high and the low. So are they going to breach the low and make a downward stop, and are they going to make a downward extended drop, or are they going to make an extended upward rise? These things you will be able to understand by simply reading the net change. Then you mentioned some weeks back that in March 2010 there would be some surprise news by the market hit the market to change the thinking. This is not the time to elaborate all those things, and we have got sufficient time to explain all those things. There will be some US negative news, thereby the euro and GBP will make massive rise during that time. That's what I can tell you. It could be a surprise to everyone, and it is not pertinent to data or anything. Will they cut today's low in case of GBP? No, they may come closer to the low. Probably they may cut the low by a few pips, about 20-30 pips. In case if they want to rise euro GBP more, then they will make one downward stop, and in the case of GBP and hold the euro, thereby euro GBP will make an upward stop. That sort of moves we should anticipate. No, we should not. When they come closer to the low, then watch for 30 minutes. In that 30 minutes, if they are not cut the low, they are not going to cut the low within the session. Okay, I'll display the forecast. Then, do you think Friday lows of euro and GBP will be cut during the year-end day's drop? No, that we have to see. This week rise, let us just review it, and from there we will take up how far they will drop. Okay, week beginning false move in the case of euro GBP. Yeah, week beginning false move will be seen in some of the crosses. There will be a rise in the case of euro GBP, and subsequently they will make a slide. And if you see the net change in the case of euro GBP is positive, so allow them to go further up, then see how they are handling the high, and watch for 2 sessions. Then you will be able to get a clarity. Don't immediately jump into the market by taking position. Then only you become panic. Then now USDN is at low, not cutting the low. So after gap time, for example, we watch and it does not cut the low, we take a buy position. Yes, if it does not cut the low during the gap time or during first 30 minutes of the European session, you can take a buy. But now it is not gap time. Yeah, still gap time starts from 7:30 GMT. Can we also watch whether it cut the low for 30 minutes and we take a buy position? Yes, watch during the session. First 30 minutes, Then if it is not cutting the low, then you can take a buy position near the low, not at any level or not near the high. When they are near the high, wait for them to make a small bit, because they have to handle the positions and they have to hit the stops. Only then they can simply rise. They will not simply make the rise in the market without trapping some people. So that you have to keep it in mind. How do you see gold? Yeah, gold is expected to rise around 1121 to 1123 area. Then again come down. On Friday they came below that of 1100, and probably we should be able to see in this week 1067. And year end we will come across for the drop in the case of gold. Then people will think that it is time to book profit in the case of gold. Yeah, I will display the slide, the forecast. So Japanese session firming up and swing moves. Then there is a dip expected during early European session, then rise. So that dip could be the buying opportunity, and US session swing and rise moves are expected in the case of Euro and GBP. That is swing and firm up move generally today, and tomorrow there will be swing and slide. Probably after the rise you can take a sell position. Wait for tomorrow US session. At the time you can take a buy. Then again we'll come across on Wednesday swing and rise. Quick rise will be seen for midweek, and then on Thursday swing and rise will be seen in order to gain. They gain the levels in order to those who had taken the sell positions to do the short covering, little bit of short covering, or try to place improved buy orders, and they do not want to drop the market significantly. So that you have to, there won't be any panic drop in the market. Keep it in mind. Already it is done, and they will do only the downward stop and the lower level consolidation with the downward stop. They are the expected moves in this particular week. So the initial highs and the lows, I displayed it here, and you can just make a note of it for today's trading and see how they are handling the low and the high, and accordingly near the low you can take a buy position. When they stop cutting the new low or the current low for 30 minutes in a session, then you try to book a swing trade profit or keep stop at entry, so that you don't take any risk with regard to the position. And when they make further rise in the market, probably you can try to trail the stop and maximize the profit. So I take this opportunity to thank everybody who have come here to listen to my webinar, and next week I will give the next week webinar, because I got certain other commitments in the family, so I will not be able to give the daily Asian session live market analysis. And I become a grandfather, so obviously I got more responsibilities now. My daughter has given birth to a male child, so you should excuse me for that. Since I am forced to focus on my family, I will certainly give the updates in the blogs. I will be available for your questions to answer.